What's up, Rockstars? Welcome to an exciting unboxing. This is Tekken. This is a prototype of it. This is going to be on GameFound pretty much at the time of posting this video. So if you catch it when I first post it, first of all, congratulations. Thanks for subscribing. Ooh. If not, then maybe subscribe so you can see more cool games like this. So I opened up just to see exactly what it was and kind of not really look through anything. So all of this is new. It looks like this is like stuck in there from the glue. See, that should be glued there. You know, I love prototypes because each one of them is just so unique and different, and it's just such a cool look into some of our favorite games. So this is the board game here. It's supposed to just kind of open up like this, but it's been opened a little bit more, and it looks like it's probably just, yeah, this is the printed out rule book. Since it's even in like the print like this, I'm not going to mess with it too much. Let me go ahead and pull it out just to show you. You know, I actually really like a printed edition like this, but, you know, these are so... Look at this. What is this? Fighter overview. Oh, that is so fun. Average, surprise, mid-tier, punish, and ultimate medium. That is fantastic. I love this. Oh, that's so fun. Oh, man. Oh, exposing flaws with precision. Too funny. Okay, so this is how a lot of rule books and prototypes are. Typically, they're not even printed, but it's just essentially a Word file that just has like a whole bunch of stuff, right? This looks like it's done pretty well. You know, they have all the pictures here. It doesn't look like there's a lot of placeholders or anything. They have the, you know, bolding and headers and stuff like that set up. So, you know, all of that actually looks pretty nice. I get them all over the place when it comes to rule books. This one, not too bad. What a fun treat this is. That's hilarious. I'm gonna have to show my wife that. She'll get a kick out of that. All right. Speaking of, she's a big fan of Tekken, as am I. We like the fighting games. So Street Fighter, Tekken, all that kind of stuff, all about it. Looks like this is the main game here. Let me make sure that there is nothing else in here. I think it's just a lot of peanuts after that. All right, cool. That makes things easy. So here we are. You know, this is something I actually really like when it's just a huge image and then it has the logo right here as well. Yeah, very, very awesome. Obviously, by Go On Board, they do a lot of, you know, when IP games first started coming out, it was kind of like the IP video games on like the PS1, PS2 era, right? Now there are companies like Go On Board, nothing on the back, that are like really putting a lot of effort into these IP games. And I think that's awesome because it lets you celebrate the IP and at the same time also just have a good board game as well. Hopefully, that's the idea anyway, right? So it looks like this is packed really well. Look how flat that is perfect. Yeah, I've gotten, you know, prototypes of shoe boxes. So to get something that's nice, actually pretty cool. I dig that. All right, save those. So I want to hopefully be able to pack it up the same way. Let's take a look at the tiles here. So a lot of times this will come out, you know, to where it's more fold out than this, but it looks like maybe there's several of them here. That's kind of interesting. Let's take a look. Come on. There we go. Okay, so here we have descent into subconscious underside, and then descent into subconscious overside. Here you have the player 1, player 2. So that's kind of fun. Love the like color aesthetic that they're doing throughout this game. That looks really cool. Take a look at this one. Just black there. Aha! Here's Urban Square. You know, one of the cool things, and I didn't notice this when I first saw it, is that there actually is more here. Like, all I saw was this, because this is so dark. It might be nice to lighten it up a little bit, in my personal opinion, just because I literally didn't even notice it. That being said, in person, I definitely do. It looks like you're kind of in a ring, right? There's even like a little wall here. So you're fighting in here, yet there's the city kind of around you as well. So that is pretty cool. I kind of dig that. See what the other one was. The fact that there are, what, 4 or 5 different levels just here in the prototype. If Go On Board is their previous stuff is anything to go by. Which, by the way, I've been covering them since like Titans. Like it was a long time ago. I remember those days. Their prototypes are like pretty much, I want to say done, right? They still put some work into it, but they're practically done. So often a review, especially if you see somebody else doing a review, keep that in mind. That's actually kind of nice. This looks like it has some outside areas perhaps, and then a little smaller inside area here. And then you can see the symbols here. That's pretty easily read everywhere, even though it's light. Obviously it pops out more when it's dark. And we have some extra symbols there as well. But yeah, Sanctum looks like it works fine. And then we'll have one final one here. Take a look into the Stratosphere. That's a fun one. I like this one. So yeah, again, very cool. There's all these kind of different things that I'm assuming actually means something. I would assume there's also like A, B, C, D, F, E, right? So there's stuff on here, but it's mostly empty. They fit it in nice. Instead of it just looking like a game board, it does kind of look like an arena that you might fight in. Okay, now we have this here. I'm just gonna move it over here. And here we are. They even have a little bit of a tray here, which is kind of fun. That's pretty cool. Let's go and take a look at this, I guess, and zoom in a little bit, huh? We're not looking at like whole boards here. All right, a little bit more. There you go. All right. Okay, so yeah, player 1, player 2. This is obviously what like a deck would be, and then we have some symbols here for some like combo kind of stuff, and then just the logo on the back. So kind of fun shaped. I imagine it fits into something, but maybe not. Maybe it just looks like that. It looks like a deck could go here and here as well. All right, then we have what looks to be the player boards. For the like quality of this, again, it is a prototype, so I'm not too focused on that. That being said, this is nicer than some Final games. You might recall even back in the day, I was unboxing some Command games, so I was able to like peel it away and stuff like that. Nah, that's not. This is nice. It's not really coming off too much. On the back side, you see a little bit of that flakiness, right? That comes from that. But again, not final product at all. There are a few tags and stuff like that. Coloration, I don't know. The how dark and how bright stuff are and how saturated colors are often on these prints are not as good. So it could actually even look better than this, right? This is almost like the worst it can look. And I think it already looks pretty cool. I like seeing the person. You got kind of the torso shot there. And then you have some reminders, symbols, stuff like that. I really like Go On Board doing this. They do this all the time. And I remember commenting on Titans about this, that there's always these like reminders on the boards themselves. And as you can see here, it looks like the people very, very different, right? Just fundamentally, you can see the difference here between all of these, right? Oh, good. Their names are on the back. So that's always fun, right? I like when there's a little customization like that. But yeah, as you can see, it looks very, very different. That does mean it's typically fairly like symbol heavy. Well, sort of. I mean, it's actually not too bad because it's not like an RPG or something like that. There's not like a bajillion different ones you have to learn, like all the status effects and stuff. And you can see some similarities, like this is like 2 of these to this, and then twice, and that's the same like they have here. But obviously the effects are different, right? Yeah, very cool. Very, very cool. And especially once you like learn the rules, I feel at that point it really, the symbols tend to make sense too, right? So anyway, how many was this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just here in the core box prototype here. Very, very nice. Fighting games live and die on the variety of them. Skirmish games, same thing, right? You got to have some variety. So that's really cool. Okay, so we have this as well. The little meter here. It looks like maybe a card here. Just depends. Maybe some symbols here. I'm sure this all fits together or, does nice things. And that's not just there for funsies, but it could be. I mean, who knows? This is fun. This is like a freaking shuriken. So this is a little spinner, right? That looks like you can hopefully spin. I don't know if it's exactly supposed to do that or if it, I'll have to kind of learn the rules, obviously, and let you guys know. But you could also do this if you just want a fidget toy. So that works too. Yeah, fun. I really like the cut. It's actually fairly intricate. Looks very cool. Very custom. All right. Looks like we got some tokens and stuff here. Maybe I'll just take some of those out. And we'll look at some tokens just to kind of see some of the variety and whatnot. Okay. So here, as you can see, you can put cards. Or cars, not cards. And they do kind of flip area, so you kind of want to do it like that. So because obviously there's a single facing on that, but both sides, so that's kind of nice. Looks like this is again something you'd randomly pick up, right? Probably the same here, perhaps. So you have some blinks, you have some symbols there. Here's another one here, double-sided. So nothing looks to be single-sided or anything like that. And there's not a whole lot of tokens, right? Just a few. But yeah, no, they're like really good. They're a little, like I can feel it like gets in between the ridges of your fingers and makes them really smooth, right? That fine dust. But not squishy like at all. Like those are like really, really nice. I would say almost, and again, prototype, top tier. I often find myself ranking everything against the first game that I got that had really good card stock or cardboard here, and that was Monolith for like Conan and stuff like that. And yeah, this just like that. Those like really nice, thick, firm tiles. Almost feels like wood. Really, really cool. Okay, so we do have some cards here. Let's go and take a look at some of the cards. We got some small ones here. Maybe they do have the easy open, and that actually was quite easy. Oh, it's stuck to me. Static. Okay. And then we got to zoom in even more here. Let me actually... Okay. All right. So we have, it looks like a whole bunch of challenge ones. We'll take a look at that. We have whatever these are. I love the wins. That's fun. Quite a few of those. Some more challenge, but this is gold versus silver. So let's take a look at these first. So front and back, kind of the same thing. It's some kind of like probably a stun or something like that. Then you have the you win and perfect. Oh, that's kind of fun. That 2 and then 3. Then here's a 1 on this. Not a lot of text. And everything does pop. They even have a little bit of a glow here so you can see that. And there is a like identification number on it, which is nice. But yeah, not a lot of text. This is probably like the most here. So that's kind of interesting. Not too bad. Just 3 lines at most. And then on the back, just a symbol. And then probably the same on this, but gold. Yep, there it is. And the exact same sort of thing. Though these typically looks like even less text. So yeah, pretty straightforward there. Let's see, it was like that. That was backwards, but that's okay. Okay. All right, and they have a little spot for it. They have larger cards here. Oh, there's some more cardboard or whatever. So that's for King probably. So they got a few different things in there. We'll keep looking. All right, I'm just peeking around. Again, another easy open. Really appreciate that. Okay, so on the backs here, we have some of them and then some basic ones, it looks like. So let's see here what they got. Different moves by the looks of it. It looks like kind of similar poses here, right? Though again, the back arm is a little different. But I will say it looks like each one has like their own unique little what it is you're doing. That adds a lot of context, which I really appreciate. That's super cool to do. Very nice. All right, and then some generic ones too. Very cool. All right, quick and easy there. Okay, now in here, I suspect, is this starting the minis? It looks like it probably is. Okay, all right. So before we do that, one more thing, and that's here. If you recall, there was that one that had the 3 other ones, so it looks like maybe you can expand some of the places a little bit based off this, right? Remember there was like the grayed out areas there, so that's probably what that is. A couple more tokens and stuff, but we're here now for minis. All right, let me go in and actually get situated for that. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Oh, it looks like they're using the 2 plastic. That's really taken off. I remember, I think the first time I saw that was from Ludus Magnus Studio. And since then, it's really been done well. I know Dragori Games has done it before, right? I know even the new one from Shadowborn Games has done it. So a lot are doing that. I think that's really cool. All right, finally got them out here. Oh, wow. Okay, so I will say this is not final production plastic. This is a resin 3D print that they've done. But as you can see, incredible. The scale of the mini is really going to help when it comes to the quality of the miniature, right? But the 3D print, you can do a lot of things you can't normally do. I can see I mean, it feels like resin, looks like resin, but also I can see where the posts were, right? But they actually did a good cleanup job on these too, and it's a really good quality print. This, obviously, is a little bit different here, but as you can see, looks very, very cool. Love the hair. I'm trying to see if there's anything that maybe won't work. Some of them, like this little fine detail here, right? This little belt buckle will need to be thickened up a little bit. There's a couple little posts here that are still there. Maybe some fine detailing like these spikes and stuff like that. But, you know, overall, not too bad here. I like the rope here. That's very cool. That'll probably be flattened, I would think, in the final one. At least I know that's what they're going to want to do. Very cool. Love the symbols and text on the back of the jacket and all that. It looks very, very high detail here. So it's starting at a really good place, which I like. This, of course, is incredible. I love and it's very much like the video game where it's not like super symmetrical, right? Which I really appreciate there. And it's just a really cool splash. Additionally, normally, when you see these, you can actually like freeze the mini and then pop these off if you want to then paint the mini, because that can be kind of hard when it's like in there. But normally it's like super glue or some kind of glue like that gets brittle when it's cold. The plastic doesn't care. So that's typically how you can do that, at least in the final one. But yeah, very, very cool. I love it. I think that looks very awesome. The detail in here, again, really impressive. We'll see how that kind of progresses, but again, starting in good space. Also love the basing here. It just looks really nice. Okay, so there's one, but there's more, guys. There's more. Oh, let's see here. Hello. Here we go. Oh, you know, I started looking at minis and there's more cards and dice. All right, let's pause. That was a tease. Okay, here's some cubes. You guys have seen those for like a bajillion times. Take a look at some dice. Not a whole lot. We just got 3. They are colored, I think. This is some form of, like, these color choices, I believe, are like what is it? A colorblind version. I know there are certain colors you can pick for that, because otherwise, you know, you might mix them up or something like that, because it looks like there is some similarities and some differences, right? So you can kind of see that. But again, all these symbols will make sense. Same with this, right? It looks like they're multi-purpose between like the A's and the symbols and stuff like that. But there are your dices. Oh, and then I got the cards here. So let's take a look. All right. Again, opened up quite easy. Very nice. Really appreciate that. Again, not final quality here. And you can see there is, so staticky, already some wear and tear on these cards, right? But again, I would expect better. And normally they do a lot better with their card stock. So I'm not too concerned there. Thankfully, you know, for games that go on board, they're a known quantity, right? If you've played any of their games, you kind of know what to expect on the quality. And that does help a lot. You know, I don't mean to bring Come On up, but they did something that was always interesting to me, where they would obviously use different products or manufacturing depending on the game. And so sometimes you had really good cardstock and sometimes not so much. And it was always kind of a gamble. But most companies, they make a partnership with something like Long Pack and stuff like that, and then they just they just go from there. Okay, so more symbols. I love the name behind them, by the way. That's super cool. Very nice to see. I think that's awesome. The blue, a little darkish there. I think all the others pop maybe a bit better for me, but still kind of okay. Then we have these here. Again, the same colors actually. Look at that. They match. So see, some things are just intuitive, and I really appreciate that. I think that's awesome. And here in the back, we got some more stuff here. This is probably to remind you of, oh, here's his combos or whatever, right? Okay, so then we have those. When it comes to if they're bent or not, they are, as you can see, at least slightly bent here. So if I do that now, that gap is gone because they're not bent the wrong way. Okay, now we have a whole bunch of these. These are probably the meat and potatoes of it, right? Where you're building out different combos or strings of attacks or commands. And it looks like each one actually has its own kind of art, which is something that they don't always have to do, but here they are doing it. And I like that. It adds a lot of context. I know it also adds a lot of cost, right? Doing something generic obviously would be a little bit easier, but I really do appreciate each one being different. Kind of lets you know what they're doing, right? Which I think really helps sell it, especially when there aren't names of the attacks, right? Or you know, titles given to it, or even descriptions. And so that's what that is. Looks like there's some other like hazard kind of stuff here, and then we got the police here, and then looks like some more here, and then it looks like what we have is perhaps some generic ones, I would assume. Actually reminds me a lot of their Witcher game. I think it might be something kind of similar in the card combo category, which you can always like, but this is interesting because it's different colors, right? And the same thing almost, so slight differences, but then they've changed kind of who's doing it a little bit too. So that's kind of interesting. All right, and that's it. That's the cards. The rest are minis. One of the nice things I would say right now about this is that there's not a humongous amount of stuff that you need to kind of deal with, if that makes sense. This looks like it would set up quick. Table space isn't too bad. All of that just, I think, really helps kind of make it easier to play, right? All right, so again, resin mini. The plastic looks super cool too. Love that. Yeah, just looks really, really nice. I love the how in motion each of these are so far. The thickness here actually looks pretty good. They should be able to go almost directly to plastic for that. Same even actually with this. Not too much adjustment here. This might need a little bit thickening up here. Same with this. And then maybe taper towards the end. Just because of how separate they are. Otherwise, you're going to want to like attach it, right? It'll be hard to inject the plastic and have it go through this little channel here, right? Which is what their problem will be in the final production. But that's okay. Yeah, no, this looks awesome and incredible. Love the pants, because often what they do is they make them really baggy, and these aren't super baggy, and I think that's really, really cool. It even has a heel on the back of the foot, so that's nice too. And again, completely different shape and style here to the mini. And this nice framing device as well just looks cool. It's just cool. I like it. All right, go on to the next one. Yeah, these are nice though. Okay, you know, the color, the choice of color plastic, I think also super, super nice to see. Okay, so again, very different shape base on this. This one's much skinnier, a little wobbly here, but again, it's a 3D print, especially down here. There can be some sanding that would need to be doing otherwise. Final production plastic, I have no concerns there. Yeah, again, very good. I do appreciate how this is separate. They could do this, but obviously the pants or the legs would need to be a separate piece rather than they glue into there. But definitely possible to not fill that in completely, so that should still be nice. Again, I like this coming up too. I like the added swirls here. That's very, very cool. And this, I would suspect, is pretty close to what you would get. So that's kind of nice to see. Almost a mix between final and non-final, right? Which is kind of cool. The hair looks very nice. They come to these little tiny points, which will be kind of difficult. However, again, with the scale of these minis, you can get a lot better detail and a lot better like little pieces like that, right? Just because technically everything's a little bit larger. It's just easier to go in that plastic production process. Detail on here looks great. Love the hat. The hands look really good. I think they're a little bit enlarged, and I actually appreciate that because often if they try to do those like true scale hands, they're like really, really tiny, and it can kind of suck. Think of like the ones you get from like Awakened Realms. They do a true scale. They're probably the biggest ones that do that, and you'll see just their hands are so tiny, right? And that's why, right? Because technically all your fingers are quite tiny to the rest of you, but enlarge them just a little bit. Nothing crazy. You're not doing heroic scale or anything like that. I think it looks quite nice. So yeah, they should be able to keep a lot of the detail there because of that. Now, I don't know if each one is going to have its own, separate plastic. I suspect that's the case. But either way, what else is kind of cool is you can kind of see, what they're attacking with just that much better with this, right? So obviously he's kicking, but it helps that even this is here to really show the power behind that. I love, by the way, again, they've pretty much just like freeze framed the video game. And I think that's so cool. So you get all of the like physics right, and things like trailing off us is to be hard to do in the final production. They'll probably thicken that up a little bit, especially the connection piece there. But just how everything is, how he moves his body, you can see his torso's even twisted a little bit, which is super cool, and then his neck is like twisted and up. That's again, all of that is just super cool. His jacket, obviously, fan favorite, and everybody loves that. It looks great. The basing is cool. It's connected to quite a few spots between those. These aren't too skinny. And this is like, I don't know if they use ABS or what for this. I'm actually not sure, but it seems to be quite sturdy, which I also appreciate. Actually, this plastic in general, even the resin that they used, one of the more flexible ones. So even this prototype, again, I think they're thinking about material choice and what they're doing and how they're doing it and how they're connecting pieces. I foresee them not having to do too many changes. When it comes to IPs, those can be kind of hard because obviously everything has to be approved, right? And so when the manufacturer will come back with, okay, here's what we need to do to change, that can obviously be something that can be a little difficult. But here, no, seems fine. Okay, so this is another cool one. I love this. Obviously super dynamic. She's not even touching the ground here. Several different points. You got the guns blasting, which is awesome. She's about to get hit in the face with them. That's crazy. Very, very cool mini. I love the back, actually, more. Look at that. With it kind of exploding past the base. Really gives volume to the base itself, having a changing how this is, which is awesome. They do have this little connection piece in here, which is perhaps a little odd, just because to me right now, it kind of looks like her foot's detached or something like that. I think that's part of the rock, but just kind of interesting that it does that. I would almost like the rock maybe to point out a little bit from that, just to really kind of sell this is around the rock, not necessarily on the rock. Otherwise, I almost don't want to see that piece and just have it just completely wrap it and then shoot out that way. But wow, what a cool mini, huh? That is definitely the most dynamic one so far. Really, really cool. Love the gun stuff. I know a lot of people do it even for like their Warhammer stuff, and it's just really cool. The jacket itself, it looks like there's some soft detail here on the wrap. Now, again, that can just come from the resin print that they're doing. But yeah, sometimes that can kind of happen. It just looks really, really thin, so they'll probably want to thicken that up. Everything else seems to be doing good. They even put this here between the legs, which is nice because then it's not so brittle there, right? It's a much more solid piece. But overall still looks fine. Yeah, I would just say a little bit more definition on these might come in handy. I can see it was printed on this side, so that may have just been from the print. On resin prints, wherever the post is, so just because they are having to do that, sometimes the details can get a little soft there, but that's what that is. Glasses, it looks like they did quite well also, which is quite nice to do. This is separate completely, which is also surprising. But you could always put a little glue piece there if you wanted to connect those two and just make it that much stronger. But yeah, very cool mini. Wow, that's awesome. All right, we got 3 more here. These are the bigger ones. So let's take a look at the first one here. Uh-oh, so it fell off the base, but that's okay. It looks like it was a clean fall too. So let's see how King here, which again, amazing miniature here, right? with the both little spinners here. Very, very cool. Yeah, the tiger face looks awesome. I dig that. The cape is just super nice. I love the text there. The tail, obviously very cool. It looks like probably connected, like this, perhaps, is what I would be guessing. Something like that. You can see kind of where it's glued there. But I love almost the framing of the base here, right? So this is kind of like, looks like it goes kind of like that. Again, very, very cool. Again, these are resin, so it's not glued quite as well. I can glue that, no problem. I'll just verify. I don't want to do it right now because I want to verify the proper sculpt there, right? Okay. Next one here. Again, very, very cool. I will say the size scale difference is also really exciting because you can really like get a sense of the size difference here, right? I mean, that is definitely not like, you know, completely hugely bigger, but definitely a lot larger. Yeah, this one, again, very cool. Love the texture on the bottom of the shoes. That looks awesome. All these different pipes and stuff, definitely thick enough. The head being separate there from the collar, very, very cool. I dig that. Yeah, all the different textures and the holes in the armor plating and stuff like that just looks super cool. So I dig that too. Yeah, overall, very, very cool. The inner parts here, very nice. That they would have to make that kind of a separate piece, but I think they still could. So I don't foresee a lot changing here. Open mouth, that's really cool. And again, of course, hitting that with a little swirl here, very, very neat. I like the swirl around, but then separated here like that. Also very, very cool. One of the more plain bases, but I think it's more than made up for how dynamic he is. Yeah, love it. That's awesome. Okay, one more. Let's go ahead and get it. This is obviously a very cool one. Looks like also slightly separated here. All right, guys, here is the final one here. I did notice in gluing this, so I was able to take a little bit of a closer look. You know, guys don't want to see my head in camera, but these are actually 3D printed as well. So these are all resin 3D prints that they've done. You can see some of the postmarks here and some of the layer lines a little bit, right? As nothing is perfect when it's printed layer by layer like that. This is how it works. But yeah, very, very cool. They actually did a good job supporting this. It broke here, and then actually this whole thing, it's attached here, and that's like the main point where it's attached to. And that's why this whole thing was just separate, because it actually held on quite good. It just kind of hit probably this a little bit during shipment. Obviously, these are not the final trays that they'll use, so I'm not very concerned about that at all. Very cool mini, though. It's one of those things where it actually wouldn't be that bad or big if it wasn't for the giant slash that he's doing, right? And that just makes it cooler in my mind that this is such a big part of the silhouette of the miniature here. Yeah, very, very cool. Very striking. Love it. Guys, that is Tekken the board game by Game On Board. Again, it is doing a Game Found campaign. Link down in the description below to that. Feel free to check it out. You'll see my unboxing there, I'm sure, plus a whole lot of reviews and stuff. I'll try to get another video out, but I'm behind on a few things, so still working on that, putting the time in today to get that to you. But I hope you appreciated this detailed look at the prototype of Tekken, knowing that, of course, Game On Board does a great job going from the high-quality prototype to then a high-quality product. Haven't been disappointed yet. And again, looks like they got the IP down really, really well. And again, I'm loving these really larger size miniatures. They don't have a huge amount of them, so they can put a lot more detail and time and effort into the scale of these and the detail of them. So yeah, very, very excited. All right, guys, have a good rest of your day. Take care. Bye, guys.